So once again, welcome to the online special interest group with Dan Gunda presenting how we're going to do our holiday builds. I just want to run through a couple of quick things about our Zoom meetings in general and a little bit of Zoom etiquette. So without further ado, if you want to attend one of these, there's really two ways to do it. You can go to our homepage of the sdfwa.org website, and you'll see the upcoming one I snapshotted was yesterday's, but you know, the holiday gift build is underneath there. There are two sets of links in there. The one on the left is the Zoom link. So if you say, oh, I want to go to that, and it's just about to start, you can click on the Zoom link and join. If you are familiar with PunchPass, the one on the right in general will take you to PunchPass, and you can sign up for the class. The only advantage, big deal about signing up via PunchPass is about 15 minutes before the meeting starts, it will send you the link. It kind of acts like an alarm clock. Down below, you can see the previous events, and we record all of these videos and try and get them up on YouTube about the next day if we're that available. You can also go to youtube.com/user/SDFWA videos and see them there. So we're trying to keep this up to speed and ahead of time. So, and we're working, and if you feel like volunteering for one of these, please do. And I for one would be more than glad to help you out with the production and setting things up however it needs to be. Just a little quick tutorial on Zoom controls in case you don't know it. Starting on the screen, you can see the dogs where mine is. On the lower left-hand corner is the mute button, our microphone select. If you have more than one microphone connected to your computer, you can select it using that little up chevron. Same with the video, will start and stop your video. If you have more than one camera selected, you can choose which camera by using the up chevron. The participants we'll talk about a little bit more, but that shows you who is in the meeting and what their current status is. Chat allows you to chat just like you would think without interrupting the flow of the meeting. Share screen is the button I'm using right now to share my screen. In this organization, we allow anybody to share their screen. There's some Zoom people who don't advocate that for security reasons, but at the moment, we're letting anybody share their screen. The record button is the one I forgot to push when we got started here. It records the video. The only person who can record is the host, it happens to be me. However, if you really want to, you can ask, and I can give you permission to record it, so we could both record it. Reactions brings up either a thumbs up or clapping hands to show the host silently or the speaker silently that you approve of what it does. The leave meeting button on the lower right hand does exactly what it says. It exits the meeting. So you want to be careful about pressing that one. On the participants window, when you first click on it, it may pop out to the right hand side. It's sort of default mode. And on the lower right-hand side, you can see where that arrow is. There's an ellipsis. You can merge it to the window, which I think is frequently easier to do, but it's up to you whether you want it free-floating or not. If it is merged to the window, you have some buttons down there that you can always see. One of them is to mute your microphone, and the other one is to raise your hand. If we get a lot of participants, and more than we have about 18 or so today. If we have more than this, you can raise your hand and the host will try to recognize you. Sometimes we'll mute everybody and not let you unmute. So it's a way to get attention. The chat, just common sense. The chats are recorded by default and everybody can see the chat. So if you have bad things to say about Travis, probably best to say it in person and not on chat. So, or Gary, you can, either one of those guys are, perfectly better to go with face-to-face. Zoom controls and etiquette. please mute your microphones just so we don't hear the squeaks and the groans as everybody moves around, and it's kind of distracting. If you want to contribute, you can raise your hand. I'm not going to mute everybody. I force you all to be muted this time, but you bet. If you've been looking at the news, there's this thing called Zoom bombing. Most of the people who've been Zoom bombed have sort of set themselves up for it. They have published the meeting link on someplace secure like Facebook, and everybody joins and gets the opportunity. They also don't use passwords. Okay, we have set ours up to be the most secure that there is. And the one hint I would like to do, and I think almost everybody's doing it, is please use your real names. I've seen a couple of these where people signed in, XZ14. I have no idea who that is. And it may be a bad guy logging in. So if you can just use your real name when you sign into Zoom, we will be happy. And without any further ado, I would like to, if I can find Dan's, introduce you to Mr. Dan Gunda, and he's the star of the show, and it's all yours, Dan.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning,
Thank you for coming to the meeting. I'm running this in behalf of Doug. Oops,
sorry.
Activities. All right, so I saw my mute go on and off.
It was me. Sorry.
Okay. All right, so what I thought is that today we would go through a show and tell of those that had things that they've been working on for the holiday build. That should serve as some encouragement that things are still going on and that we have items accumulating. Then what I'd like to do is have our team leaders talk a little bit about who has volunteered on their team to help build a volume of items, and then possibly list out goals that we have for the items to be built, a quantity and a timeline to see if we're on schedule or if we're behind schedule in putting together a package for November. So with that, let me start with the show and tell. I have put on display items that I've been working on, and didn't think how selfish that really was, but what I have now is the opportunity to show maybe more close up some of these things. I have some Christmas ornaments, 4 in particular, that 2 of them are a combination of scroll saw and turning. So it's all one piece of wood and just cut to reflect the light and show some various shapes on it. I have 2 other of these Christmas ornaments that I used on the drill press to hollow out the ball and then put some designs and turn it on the lathe to round it. So these were experiments with new ideas, and I'm having quite a bit of fun with them. I think they're going to be good enough to put on sale. And then I have this little guy here that is like an elf, but we've got a set of 3 with a horse like that, and another little elf here. So I thought maybe as a set of 3, those could be packaged and put together on display. In addition to that, this is my effort at a utensil in the kitchen. So I got to do some hand carving and playing around with that. This was some scraps of wood that we had in the shop in a box, and so we glued the scraps of plywood to a piece of wood in the center, and then I turned this into a let me see if I can get it positioned right, a toothpick holder. And so it has a little tray at the bottom of a stem that lifts the toothpicks out and allows that to be used. I went over to Jim Bradbury's house the other day, and we weren't sure how he would be able to get into video. So he gave me 2 items here. Let me see if I can get them the right spot on the camera. There we go. So there's a 1 clock, and this is another clock. And so he's making a volume of this. Jim, do you want to chime in and mention the quantities you're working on with those?
Nice catch on the clock there. Hey, no, there's altogether 5 clocks with three each of the clocks and bases. They're made mostly of walnut, and the ship is that one there is Sapelli, which shines up really nice, and it's a relatively nice project to do. I picked it out of a book, Victorian Clocks. I made several hundred of them several years ago and just came back across the pattern and showed it to Gary, one that I had finished a long time ago. And he about took it out of my hand and ate it. But anyway, and there'll be, let's see, I'm also working on the tea lights. I've got the bodies glued up, but nothing is cut. They're on schedule. They're made out of about 6 or 7 types of wood. And somebody suggested that some colored vellum or something like that behind the cutouts would be a good thing. Well, that I've been looking at that, and the problem there, not a problem, but to adhere the vellum or the colored thin plastic material, for want of a better word, for the candle to glow through, that needs some R&D, and I'm going to be working on some of those to see how they work out. So that's about it for my sawdust now.
You're
as far
Jim?
with Sam, aren't you, on those tea lamps?
right, and I've been playing around with the designs for the tea lights as well for Jim, and I also tried gluing the vellum on the backside, and I use a spray adhesive, and it works really well. So I've got some things that people can look at and see. We can choose which designs might work out. So I don't know how to do the share screen thing, but I've got. I can show you.
Okay, on the top of your Zoom window, there's on the bottom, there's a green button that says share screen.
Okay.
It's kind of in the middle. If you press that.
And let's see.
Mike, you're kind of locked on my image right now.
Let me see if I can undo that. Okay, and now can you see the green button at the bottom that says share screen, Jim?
Yeah, if somebody's talking to me,
Oh,
I'm
okay, let's see.
hearing until I get some buds. I'm going to winging it.
Sam's the one that wants to share a screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Sam, do you see it? Just push. Oh, I think you'll have to turn your video on, Sam, for us to see you share screen.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Should be lower left-hand corner, start video.
I can't find my Zoom screen anymore.
Oh, well, we get to see somebody's Zoom.
Jim Bradbury just did that for us.
Okay.
That was me.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I guess I can't really. I have to figure this out here. So I lost my Zoom screen.
Yeah,
Look in the upper right-hand corner. It's probably really small.
Oh, there we go. All right. Now
Okay.
let me
And
try.
Jim, you're going to have to, at the top, in order for Sam to share, you're going to have to hit stop sharing. At the top of your Zoom screen, there's a red thing that'll say stop sharing.
Yeah, I'll get it here in a minute.
Okay, there we go.
Ah, there you are. Okay.
And Sam, you should be able to, now in the middle of your Zoom window, there should be a green share screen button.
Yeah, I have to find my Zoom screen now.
Look in the upper right-hand corner
It's
of your
disappeared.
monitor. It's probably little, like the size of a postage stamp.
Sam, if you have a Windows machine, I found hitting the Alt-Tab key through it, you can spot
That'll
it.
work. That'll work too.
And if you're using a Mac, you
Well,
can.
let me come back later and do this then.
Okay.
Because I'll play with it while you guys are going on.
We see you now.
Oh, okay.
See you now.
So now, if I go like this, can you see the?
Can you just hold it up in front of the camera, Sam, or is it on the computer?
Well, it was a picture. So let's see. Well, let me do it later. It's okay.
Okay.
It's actually on the forum too. I posted it on the forum for the holiday gift bill laser stuff, and so it's there, so people can look at it at some point later. Anyway, I don't want to take up any more time right now, so why don't you just go ahead and continue.
Yeah, going back to your display there, I don't think you mentioned the round items in the front. Are they pen holders?
Oh, the round items are balls that are cut for future ornaments, and they'll have a finial attached to the bottom and a button to the top so that we can hang those like the other 4 ornaments. So you can see the hole in the top. It's a 3/8 hole, and that's one in the bottom, and the ball's been hollowed out so that it's lighter weight, and then I'll add a finial to it. But I have not done that quite yet. Thanks
Well,
for asking.
I'm sure glad I'm not the guy that has to go next.
Well, Mary, since I've already done some things for turning, perhaps you could show some of the turnings that you might have available and ready.
You're the star of the show, Mary.
So I've been working on bottle stoppers,
Wow.
Yes.
and a lot of these are from the centers of the tea lights. So those are kind of cool. For those of you that didn't already see, I've almost completed a set of the light bulb ornaments and a little double-hearted tray, got all sanded and finished, and a platter of unknown wood that Doug got from somebody. I don't even know where he got it. And of course, I have been working on multiple birdhouses of different kinds and different woods. I think I have about 8 now. I made, before we closed, a whole bunch of bags of sets of wood, roughs on wood, to make sets of the light bulb ornaments, little sets of little tree ornaments, and pairs of snowman ornaments. And I was going to take those to, the SDFWA general meeting and try to recruit turners to help me turn them, because I don't want to turn them all. So I have 11 sets of the tree ornaments. There's 4 ornaments per set, and I have right now only 8 sets of the light bulb ornaments, but I'd like to increase that to 12. I just need to get some more poplar for that. And I've got 18 individual snowman finial ornaments, all prepped and in packages, and including instructions on how to do it and how I want them finished or not finished, just sanded and returned to me. And those are all ready to go. I just need to somehow get the message out to get volunteers, and I'd be happy to meet them at the shop and give them packages. I have it all set up right now in the classroom with a sign-out sheet for each item, because I was there yesterday and I finished the packages. I even put the little screw eyes in the packages, and so I don't know where to go from there. I was thinking maybe Gary on the next update could put a little blurb in saying that Mary has these items and is looking for volunteers who will turn. I also have a printout there of a whole bunch of different ideas for candlestick sets. And of course, we always need volunteers to do bowls and platters and pens and other turned items. But somehow I need to get to the turners.
Mary, a couple of thoughts. First of all, I'll be happy to do that on the update. If you would just send me a picture or whatever you have from a visual standpoint that I can use in the update. Oh my God.
I will do that.
I'll be happy to put it in the update. And then the other thing we ought to do right now is welcome some newbies to this meeting. We've got some fresh faces that are a delight to see because we can use all the help we can get. And it's a pleasure to see several new people joining us this morning. So please don't hesitate as you have questions about what's being said. So most of us, the 8 or 10 kind of regulars that show up for these meetings all know each other, and we forget that the new people don't know what all's going on. So please don't hesitate to tap your mute button and butt in and ask us questions as things are going on. And if any of you are turners and can help Mary, please just bring it up right now, and the two of you can get together and make arrangements to pick them up at the shop, or I can go out to the shop one day and open it up for people to come in and get them or whatever we need to do. But the kit idea is a great idea, and you're right, we just need to get to everybody. So we'll have to give that some more thought on how we can further get the word out. Any other
Gary?
questions or thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have a thought, Gary, and I'm thinking that we need to also make it clear that they don't have to come to the Friday holiday build meetings, that they can do these things at home.
Absolutely.
They can stop and pick up the wood, or they can use their wood, but they can work on these different projects at home and then bring them to us, and they don't have to be there on Fridays if they have other activities going on.
That's right. That's why I wanted to go to the general meeting and try to get volunteers to just do this at home and then get them back to us.
This is Rob Sandstrom. Hey, what I was wondering, I had done that. I did that once before with Doug. I picked up some sapele and I developed a little catch-all tray that I had looked at doing at Christmas time for some friends. And I was just curious. I could continue to make those, but how is it that we can pick up the wood during this isolation? Can we one at a time? Because I've seen people go in the shop for these videos. Can we one at a time set up something with Doug or somebody else to let us in and get us some extra wood, and so that while we're quarantined here, we can do those things at home?
Yeah, this is Doug. Absolutely. If you just email me or give me a phone call, I will be glad to meet you at the shop. For anybody out there who wants material for projects, just let me know and I'll be glad to meet you at the shop to let you get material.
Sounds good, Doug. Thanks.
Okay, so Mary, thank you very much. Move to, is Jim Strawn on today?
Second.
Okay.
Jim is not on.
Okay, Jim runs the toy group, and I think there's some activities going on there. They've slowed down a little bit on toys and picked up some other projects, but I know he has an active group, and we'll work with him to continue on with the appropriate toys. Travis, are you or Alan on that could talk about digital?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. So when it comes to digital, there's really just two topics. One is the topic of the thing that people think most could be a contribution, which are laser cut Christmas ornaments. And the other topic is sort of customizing, the idea that we can do laser etching on different projects. And as long as we plan it well in advance, we should be able to do that for not only ornaments, but other people who would like to participate in that. So let me show you what I mean on the second topic. So in the laser, it's possible for us to put down just a guide that we would use for, trying to find my Corel draw here to show you the drawing that I made. Okay. No, that wasn't it. If anybody wants to see what a double A battery holder looks like when they've done it in Fusion 360, there you have it. That's certainly not what I was trying to show you. I've got the SAM situation going here.
Your audio is fine in the rest of it, Travis.
Okay. Let's see if I can. There we are. So what do you folks see right now, Mike? Do you see?
I see Corel Draw, but it looks like it's in a browser.
Okay. So, oh, you mean where my hand is right now? Is that what you see?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly what we see.
Yeah, that's not what I want you to see. But I can remedy that. He says with diminishing confidence in his voice. Okay, what do you
It's
see?
nice
now?
to see geeks have trouble too.
Same.
Yeah.
It's
You still the same thing?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask to do the same thing that Sam did. Let me come back in just a minute when I can show you the screen that I'd like to show you, okay? Mike, you want to move on to the next person, or Dan, you want to move on to the next person?
Jim, why don't you, whoever, I don't know whoever the next one is, Dan.
Let's go to John Rieger and talk about scroll saw.
Okay.
Travis, can you stop sharing your screen?
Absolutely.
Well, I've developed I'll talk while we're trying to get the screen off. I've developed a number of patterns for standard jigsaw puzzles. And my first test case was a success. Dan did let's see what we got here. That work better? Anyway, it's a cutout truck. I gave him two pieces of wood. One was a 1/2 inch, another was a 1/4 inch as a backer, and then on the back, a couple of holes are drilled out so that the pieces can come forward. So this is the standard pattern of our puzzles, is that you make a border by cutting inside, and then you cut your pieces, and that way there's a shape for the kids to, or adults acting like kids, to put the pieces in, and it works out real nice. I'll be doing the dyeing of the pieces because that's a different operation and it takes a little longer. And also gluing the back is a different operation too, because we won't be dyeing the back. But what I have created is not a kit like Barry, but I did have, I ran off 3 copies. We're making 3 of each of the things. I made just as to give you an example, we have a wide range, a dolphin. I think there's 70 pieces on this dolphin. I forget what it is, but a lot of marine mammals and things like that. They're unique. I used patterns from the different wood carving operation and then turned it into a jigsaw puzzle. So we have, I don't know, maybe 12 or 15 of these different types of puzzles, 3 each. And so I need help with cutting those out. Now that's the kind of operation that can be done almost anywhere. I did know in the past there was a gentleman that was at a assisted living home, and they allowed him to have his scroll saw in the room. So he was just doing scroll sawing in the room. So I don't know if we have any members active that are in that situation, but this is kind of a easy at home kind of exercise if you have a scroll saw. And then I think we have 3 scroll saws at the shop once that gets going. So these could get cranked out fairly quickly. If you're experienced, you could probably do one of those in about 20 minutes. Dan, how long did it take you to do that truck?
I'm going to say 2 hours.
Really? Oh my, oops. Okay, well, some will take longer because they're more pieces. Some are smaller. We have, and you know, the whales and stuff are for the older kids, but we do have very simple patterns for younger kids that have only like 5 or 6 pieces. And then there's another one that I came across. It's a hopping kangaroo. I don't have, well, the example I have is in the workshop, but and this one you put on an incline and it'll hop down the incline. So it's kind of a nice activity. I've developed, Doug asked for a marble maze, and I've developed a marble maze concept. There's a whole lot out there that can go real crazy. There is one that's like 6 feet tall and about 5 by 5. Not going to happen. So anyway, that's it. And aside from Jim, did you finish that leaning pine tree that you took home? Oh, Jim? Mr. Bradbury.
Wake up, Jim.
I guess
Just touch your space bar, Jim, and your mute will go off.
I unmuted him.
Yeah, did you get that leaning tree done? Because that's the one I'm missing from, it needs to go to Gary. Okay, forget it. Anyway, at this juncture, I don't have anybody volunteering to do any of the cuttings. I don't have any other.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll
I'd be
get
able
back
to
to you.
jump in there and do something with that for you.
Did you do the one leaning tree though?
Say again?
The leaning tree you took home that you were having fits at the shop.
My speaker is crapola.
Okay.
I'm
John,
gonna
you might text him on chat or type in a thing on chat. He can read it.
Somebody can do that.
The other thought that I have, John, on the scroll sawing is we typically don't lend out tools from the shop to take out of the shop, but unusual times call for unusual solutions, and we have those 3 or 4 scroll saws sitting there. So if by chance anybody is sitting there that's interested in doing that, and all they're lacking is the scroll saw, I have no problem making arrangements for somebody to borrow one of those scroll saws and take it home and use it to cut out those puzzles.
Yeah, we've
Plus,
got the
it's great items.
we got the wood cut up in the loft. Big stack of wood that we've generated with the 2 pieces of wood, and somewhere else is the other pieces for the dolphins and the whales. So the wood has been prepped. It's just a matter of gluing the pattern onto the wood. We'll have it's very simple instruction. That's it.
I want to chime in just real quickly. John had previously cut a whole, I don't know how many, but a lot of the Charlie Brown leaning trees with the ornaments. And I took the box home yesterday because they need sanding, so I'm just going to fit in sanding here at the house to get those ready to put into the base.
Gary was supposed to do that.
No, Gary wasn't supposed to.
Oh, Gary's the mastermind, though. I think I remember you asking Barry to do that, though.
Hey,
Hey,
John,
quick
this is Doug.
question.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Rob.
A quick question. The products that you're producing with these scroll saws, I'm not a scroll saw, but how thick is the wood? Is it a product that could be blasted out, the solid ones like that I saw in that picture with the CNC machine, so you could incorporate two mechanisms to try to get them working?
You'd have to ask Travis. The standard thickness is 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch.
Hey,
That
Rob,
shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, Rob, the CNC would be creating a kerf, and the pieces wouldn't go together, but the laser would have a very, very kerf. Kerf. And so long as it's not being too thick, then yes, we could crank it on the laser. But the CNC, just due to the nature of an end mill and how it,
Yeah, that would. Yeah.
it wouldn't work with that tool. However, it could be added to the laser list of options, Rob, if you wanted to give that a go.
Okay, just was thinking of other ideas.
Yep.
And John, I wanted you to know that I have all 4 colors of the trans tint, and we can share that. If you want it sooner than later, just let me know.
Okay. Well, I think we're looking at that around early fall or late summer, because the nature of this is mix up a die batch, and I can do several puzzles. The key is to make sure we don't co-join pieces.
Hey, John, it's Doug. I'd like to throw my hat in the ring for cutting out some of your puzzles.
Okay.
Just FYI, the Flying Dutchman, the guy that supplies the really quality blades,
Yeah.
he has free shipping right now. So I ordered 2 dozen of the number 7 blades, as
Yeah.
well as the 00. And he's dying for business right now.
Okay,
So-
that's great. Yeah. Yeah.
So anybody out there looking for scroll saw blades, I have some to pass around too if needed. But if you could leave me a pattern and a couple of blanks, I'd like to stop in this next week and help you out.
Well, I don't have access to the shop.
Okay. Got you.
Okay, so I guess we're getting into the
John?
point now of we've heard numbers and some goals and some plans for the scroll saw, for the turnings, the toys we don't have an idea on, and Travis, you seem kind of open on what we'll be doing and how much happens at the customization.
Yeah.
Are we going to prep items on the digital so that they can be customized during the show?
Yeah, let me see if I can show you that screen again, just so you can see the concept. The idea here is to this is basically a 24 by 24 inch sheet of ply, which we'd use as a template, and it would be squared up on the laser bed. And then we'd have certain items that we would have planned in advance that were either, for instance, in this case, they fit inside a 3 by 3 square or a 5 by 5 square, or for instance, up here, a 14 by 2 square. And just by placing the pre-cut ornament or the pre-cut sign into the space, if it was designed such that there was always the same area available for etching. So if in an ornament, it might be just this little 1 inch by 2 inch area that was always available for etching. And if we could have relatively low skilled laser users at the ready, all they'd have to do is take what was purchased, place it into one of these spaces, turn to the screen, and end up typing in the custom message. Then the idea is that we'd be able to take what would otherwise be a standard ornament and charge more for being able to customize it. So this is the notion. I have to admit, when it comes to the holiday gift build, I've not thought about it in like a month and a half. So there's not been a whole lot of traction of late. We did have a variety of people who were interested in doing things with the laser, but that is obviously not available to them right now. However, the notion right now is ornaments of a certain size with the option to be able to customize to charge a slightly higher fee. Thought out well enough in advance that we could take anybody who's just been through our basic laser training and have them sit at the computer and do these things quickly and efficiently and produce good results. It means we have to constrain ourselves to a certain number of sizes, certain thicknesses of wood. But while I mention this for ornaments, and that's why I have the 3x3 and the 5x5 down there, it can be for a variety of other things too. For instance, if we had plaques and people wanted to be able to get customizations on those plaques, let's say those plaques were 5 inches by 18 inches. As long as the person making the plaques, or as long as the person making the puzzle or whatever fit within a certain dimension and had a certain area that was always available for etching and was a certain thickness, then we could incorporate them into this customization program. But for very little effort, we may be able to add a few dollars per item. And that just seems like a really worthwhile goal if we think about it in advance. And that's really what's required to make this program a success, is to have enough product that can fit into an easy production process so that we can do customizations without slowing down the people flowing through the line, without backing people up in terms of wanting to get work done, and make it easy so we can have volunteers that can sit there and do this easily. The planning in advance allows for this sort of thing to be done. And as it stands right now, it would just be ornaments, probably a couple of sizes, but I do extend the offer to anybody who thinks that they have an idea for another product which might be really enhanced in value if it could be customized with an etching.
Travis,
Yes.
John here. I can see on our puzzles, there's a lot of field on the perimeter that could be personalized, you know, for grandson or for whatever, and a name that would personalize the puzzle for the individual child or whoever it's going to. So, and the thicknesses are going to be pretty much all the same. I'm pretty sure we're at 3/4 of an inch.
So,
So
that all works out well if they fit within a certain space. So let me just take an example. If you always had the bottom right-hand corner.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could always know where your field is on your bed, and you just place the puzzle in the right spot that covers that field, then you're going to be putting it.
As long as we always know it was within a certain distance from one edge on the right or left, and a certain distance from another edge at the top or bottom.
Right. I think we could judge that and decide which ones we could do it with. But I think I understand your concept, and I think we could probably try that.
Happy to work with you on that. That's great. Good. Anyhow, the selection of ornaments is probably the question mark that's loomed most large in my mind the last couple of months, because what will be appealing and what won't? And it's just a question that I can't find an answer to. Certainly, we can just choose ornaments. And the second question I've had is, to the extent that Peggy can help us, or anybody else who paints or somehow stains or whatever these pieces of ornament, how would that necessarily flow, and who's available to do that sort of thing, that likes to do that sort of thing? I guess what I'm saying is there's an artistic touch that could really enhance this small program. And it's to the end of choosing the right ornaments, and it's to the end of knowing how to enhance them with finish of some sort or another. And if anybody knows of a person who delights in that kind of a craft and has a good sensibility, that would really help this project.
Hey, Travis, I have a question on that. So first of all, the ornaments are a great seller. We sold 300 ornaments at the last sale. I told Gary, I think we could easily sell 700. But as you're to the point of painting the ornaments, I had a thought that there's a lot of kids in high school that are trying to do community service. If you or Gary would sign off on their paperwork for them doing community service, what if we had high school art students paint the ornaments for us and accounted for their community service because we are a nonprofit.
That's a cool idea.
Would that work for you?
It would work for me if kids were in school and people could get together.
Right. I mean, we obviously have, some challenges now, but
Yeah, Doug,
as
no,
it
I didn't
gets
mean to.
closer.
I didn't mean to diminish your suggestion. I think that's a
No,
great idea.
I understand. I get your jest. Trust me. But I was thinking about instead of having Peggy paint all of these, which she so generously has so far, but it's not fair to her to do all of that work.
No.
I thought maybe trying to get some art students from the local high schools to help out, and it would count for their community service too. And we
That's a
could
great
sign
idea.
off on their paperwork.
Definitely worthy of looking into, and I'll add it to the list.
Okay.
Do you happen to have from last year what the ornaments were that we produced and sold?
I think Gary could probably better answer that than I, because he cut most of them out.
Gary?
We can get that to you, Travis.
So that would probably be a good starter list.
Yeah, and we'll send you some ideas that we've pulled off a punch pass, but I would challenge everybody in the group that I hope everybody understood what Travis was saying about how that would work, but we think that's a great idea and got lots of potential, not just from a sales standpoint, but from an excitement standpoint, because I think the most exciting thing that happened at the sale last year was the activity in that laser room, because people just were fascinated by seeing that laser, personalize their items. So I'm anxious to do that. So if any of you have items or ornaments or any other item, like Travis said, that be done, please share them with him so we can go ahead and get started on that.
Yeah, and John's example is a really good one. I mean, when he's mentioned the typical thickness of those puzzles, it just was spot on. So that's the kind of thing that can easily lend itself to this kind of a program. Okay.
Well, I like this idea, but Peggy is sitting here and she volunteered to help with the painting. So we'll, one way or the other, we'll get it done.
She's got a good heart. Good heart.
Travis, is
Yes.
Chris Scott here?
Hi.
I don't know how to use this machine yet, so can you hear me?
I can. Yes.
Yeah. Could you describe what type of ornaments? I'm, as you know, a newcomer, or I'm a newcomer.
So think flat stock, probably 1/4 inch, 3 millimeter, and just a profile cut. So you could do etching on the surface. It tends to take more time. Just to the extent that you can just cut out spaces to show nativity scenes, to create stars, to show trees, to make different Christmas themed images available inside of squares, circles, or whatever.
Similar to the ones that Dan showed earlier, those three with the.
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't get on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
On another webinar, but I've got a couple of things here. Can I show them to you and see if I'm in the right direction?
Please.
Sure, here's Dan's, and I will switch back to yours in just a second.
Yeah, and Dan, that's the kind of thing we could do easily because we would be scoring there, not etching, and that's a relatively quick operation.
Yeah, I think that we're very, very nicely and repeatable.
Yep. You want to send some of those our way? That is to say, the designs.
Sure.
Okay.
So, how do I get on the screen?
Go ahead, Chris. Yes, there you are.
I've got small things like this, which I make into larger pedestals for desks or coffee tables. But if you cut the ends out, you get up little things like this, which you can use for a napkin ring, or you can hang it around your neck. You could write something on it. And this one's a slightly larger version, which is a trivet, which is actually a cut-off from another pedestal that I'm making, that's a pedestal for a table. And that's the end of it, but the cut-off, so this whole thing could be 20 different ornaments, 20 different trivets or something like that. Is this the sort of thing that you're looking at or not?
Well, the crosscut that you do and the resulting thin product, that is to say your trivet or your pentagon, those are the shapes of what we would be doing on a laser. We'd have probably more detail in them, but if you had something such as either one of those that was maybe a quarter of an inch and looked compelling and people would want to customize an etching on, then for instance, take that pentagon. If there was something that could be done around the top that says Merry Christmas, and then at the bottom we put the name of the person, that could be an appealing product, I think. So we would simply be cutting out of large flat stock, but if you've provided finished product, which was already a quarter of an inch and could be in the form of an ornament, then we could put it into our customization program and make it available to people for just a few dollars more.
Okay, these are cut out. This is purely a routing job. You
Yes.
route this out and glue them together, and have different shapes and sizes and things. And so they could be any thickness, but these are purely made on a router. And
Yes.
Once you've got the router blade, the correct router blade, I don't know how clearly you can see the end of that, but the actual router joint, it's not a straight line. It's got a router shape for each one. So you've got a male on one side and a female on the other, and it glues together just with the rubber band holding it together.
That's
So
great.
you can make anything that you want out of that.
Great.
And do napkin rings, is that part of an ornament, or?
Dan, I would think that what napkin rings might be another category. Have you tried those?
We have not considered. We do have our kitchen category, and well within that to have napkin rings. I have no idea. Probably a dozen of those would be all we need.
You can make 500 in a day. So it's a mass production type thing.
You sell 500 though.
But yeah, make a new game. You can put a towel up and throw it in. And okay, thank you. I'll back down again now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fascinating program. I hope to get involved.
Doug, do you have anything you want to add to the meeting before we start closing up?
No, thanks, Dan, for hosting this. Thanks to everyone for your input. And again, if anybody needs material, just give me a call or shoot me an email. I'll be glad to meet you at the shop one-on-one, and we can get you the material for whatever projects you're working on.
Dan,
Gary?
before you close up, let me go over a couple of things if I could.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you could collect pictures from Mary and from John on proposed projects and then include that in your blast saying we can get wood to you for these projects if you can come in.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
Now, you take it away, Gary.
Okay, I just wanted to, we've got some new people on, and I would like to take just a minute and give each of them a chance to jump in here and tell us if they have any interest in doing anything, if they are working on something and would like to share it, if they want to help but haven't yet figured out how to help, let us know that, and we can match you up with a project or helping out on one of the ones already. So maybe we could just take a moment, Michael, and you could kind of walk us around the horn and bring up everybody that hasn't yet had a chance to talk.
Okay, I'll jump in. So I'm falling to the latter category. I just want to see how I can help out. Travis, I can help you with the laser stuff. At whatever point we can get back into the shop. In terms of what I have here at home, I have a drill press, a chop saw, a bandsaw, and hand tools. So I can do whatever somebody would want in terms of that. I probably don't have any projects right off that I'm thinking of doing myself, but can certainly help out with stuff like that. I can less enthusiastic about it, but I can help out with sanding and the finishing part of it too.
Hey, Mike, this is Travis. I wanted to thank you first for offering. And having worked with you on a few other projects, I know that you have some technical prowess. So if you don't mind, I'll probably touch base with you separately, because this whole workflow that I had described simply as a template wherein things will be placed, that's something that requires some thinking through, and I wouldn't mind having a sounding board to work through that with. So I'll get in touch with you, okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Great, thank you.
And as it relates to both of you on laser stuff, I've been cleaning my shop, which is a horror story all of its own. But one of the things I did run into that I was fascinated to find up in the rafters was several sheets of that thin plywood that we use for wine boxes. And I've cut it all up into the perfect size to cut 4 sides of a wine box. And I brought them into the shop, Travis, sitting in my office behind my chair.
Okay.
And there's probably 30 sheets that we could probably get 30 wine boxes out of those. All we need is somebody that wants to go in there and actually run them whenever they get around to it. And it's also that darker plywood that we haven't been able to find since we first started these, which actually makes a more attractive wine box. So if you can find somebody to run those, if Mike wants to do it or somebody else, that would be great.
So if we made 30, then we would be around 25% of the number you've made over the years?
I haven't made that many, but 30 would be a good start.
Okay, Dan, could you just add that to the list as one of the things that the laser group will contribute?
Wine boxes?
Yeah, 30.
We did sell 48 last year at the gift sale.
Be quiet, Doug.
I'm just saying, Travis. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Travis, this is Paul. Give me a shout separately, and I can certainly go in and do the laser stuff as well.
That would be awesome. Thank you very much, Paul.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Hey, and Paul, don't forget about our squirrel nut bowls too.
Yeah, there's that, and question, discussion on the scroll saws. That one dedicated stand for the scroll saws still available? Because I don't have a table that would support that for use. It's the
John, can you address that?
Say again?
I say, John Rieger, can you address that?
Well, he was cutting out. I couldn't understand what he was talking about with scroll saws.
The dedicated stand for the DeWalt scroll saws, because I know in the past we're just putting them on a bench, but if we don't have a bench at home, we need a work stand.
Well, we do have one saw that has a stand, and then did they ever sell the one stand that was in the material, the discard pile?
Yeah, that's why I'm asking the question.
Did it get sold?
That I don't know, but you'd be welcome to either go into the shop and do it, Paul, if you wanted to, or take that one home with you. Either way.
All right, thank you. And Doug, to your question, I'm approaching Fusion 360 with the intent toward having this as a sample test for the squirrel nut tray. So to be continued.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul.
That's Fusion 360 squirrel nut tray. Did I get that right?
Roger.
Doesn't it sound nutty?
That's for fancy nuts.
Did Sam ever get his camera working the way to show an image?
No, I didn't. I'll have to try later because I've only been doing the Zoom thing for, about a week, so I haven't figured it all out yet.
Okay, thank you.
How about Walt? I saw him on there, and I know there's some others on there we haven't heard.
Yeah, I was already volunteering when this all went down for doing laser. Do anything on the laser where somebody needs to just load and run the programs. Yeah, I'm more than willing to do that.
Fabulous. Thank you.
And also, the CNC, we can probably figure out a few things to run on there when we get back into the shop.
Can we pause on that thought for just a second and go back to Doug and Dan on what really worked well last year for the CNC? Were the candy snowmen, the candy bowl snowmen, a good hit, or were they just too much work? I think I saw Susan kind of pulling her hair out towards the end there, so maybe that's not worthwhile. But were there other CNC projects that were reasonable effort and good return?
I'm not aware of any.
Okay.
I will tell you the trays, the snowman trays that Susan made, she made 6 of them and we sold all 6.
Yeah, and I remember though, they were a lot of work for her. Of course, she was also
Sure they are.
And I'm glad you said trays were a good return and not trains were a good return, because I don't think anybody's going to put their heart and soul into those again.
No, Sam's probably not going to, Sam and Dan are probably not going to do those again.
Right.
But I'm darn glad I bought one of them.
Oh, good for you, man. Good for you.
I've got a tray, a special tray that needs to be done on the CNC, Travis. I'll send you a copy of it. You can take a look at it and see if you can figure out how to do that.
Sure, sounds good.
Let me quickly show you some of the things we've been working on here. It might spark some ideas with other people. We've been hard at it. These things, and I'm not seeing, all I'm seeing is Travis's advertisement here. So
You are the star of the show, Gary.
Okay, all right, there we go. These things, you may recall from last year, were quite popular. We sold every one we've had both years. So this year we got a jump start on it. We've already got 35 of these made and painted up.
Wow.
That's a good start. We've also started doing laser ornaments. And these aren't the kind that you could personalize, but we've already got several of these cut out. There's 3 styles. There's a Joy, and then there's Noel. And there's also a pine cone shape. So
great.
We've got a good start on those. And then going back to the comments on napkin rings, Peggy thought there'd be a good marketing opportunity if we could figure out an inexpensive way to produce a set of napkin rings. So we found a pattern on the internet, 2 of them, and I cut them out on the laser. It takes just seconds to cut them out on the laser, of course, and Peggy's been painting them up. So we've got several sets, and we're putting them in sets of 4. We figure we can sell it for 4 for $8 and just bang those out all day long. We've got the holly leaves, and we did the reindeer. And again, set of 4 for $8. I think we can sell a lot of those. And then the other thing.
Could I make a suggestion about the ornaments? Maybe, you know, since we're cutting those out on the laser anyway, maybe we can etch the year on there so that it says 2020, you know, because then when people buy these ornaments, they could say, yeah, I bought that, you know, during that year, and the next year they'll have to buy the next year's.
So you're trying to build in obsolescence, is that correct?
Right. It's not obsolescence, you know, because you accumulate over the years, and you'll have, you know, in 10 years from now, you'll have all these 10 different years of ornaments, and I think it's yeah, I guess it is kind of
Sly guy.
That's a great idea.
It wouldn't take hardly any extra time to cut them out, because you'd be etching them, you know, when you're making them. So
yeah. And Gary, if you choose to do that, let me talk to you in advance, because I think concentric scoring is going to be a whole lot faster than an actual etch. And you just basically take the letters and you offset a tiny fraction, but you can do the date, say 2020, in seconds versus minutes if you did concentric scores versus etching.
Or even just the outlining.
You know? Yeah, outlining, but within and within, to make it look as though it's been etched, but it hasn't been.
Right.
That's a great suggestion. See, that's the value of a get-together like this. I'm learning a lot, getting a lot of ideas. Here's another thing that we've been having a lot of fun with. Mike McKelney came up with a, I don't know if you can see this again or not, all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
sure.
Okay. He found this wood, and some of you have seen it, I brought it in. It's got this really coarse and porous bark. But the good news is the bark is just as stable and just as strong as the rest of the wood, so you can actually incorporate it into your design. What we've done is poured resin over the top of it. And if you slice it in thin slices, you wind up with things like this that create all kinds of interesting effects. You know, we've been turning it into jewelry, primarily pendants, but we're also messing around with earrings, and hopefully we'll have some sets as well. But we've already got over 30 of these made up that we think they sold well last year, and we think and the new designs we've got this year are going to be even a little bit more attractive. So just one more thing we've got going. I think that's it, other than just to make sure that John, you and I can talk, but we'll get you into the shop so you can leave that stuff for Doug. We'll figure out a way to do that.
Can I ask Dan a quick question?
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, do you plan on holding these every week for us to touch base, or what's the plan around that?
Right now, the plan is every week.
Okay, great.
We'll do Fridays at 10 a.m. until we can get back in the shop.
Sounds good. Good news. Thank you.
Well, I would just like to add my thanks particularly to first of all, to everybody that's done so much already, and some of you have just continued to amaze me at all the stuff you've come up with. But I'm particularly excited about the new people that have joined in, and I hope you will get involved, and I hope you will follow up with us. If you feel like you're kind of left hanging and still don't have anything to do, just shoot me an email or give me a phone call, and we'll make sure that you have plenty to do, and that we can get wood or patterns or whatever to you. We'll figure out a way to engineer that. But very excited about where we're at. We're off, in spite of what's going on here, we're off to a great start, and I think it's going to be a banner year for us. Dan, thanks for being kind enough to coordinate this for us. Dan has kind of become Doug's assistant and is going to facilitate a changeover from Doug to whoever decides to take over the responsibility from Doug when he leaves at the end of the year, which we still don't have anybody yet. So if any of you have an interest in potentially taking that on, please let me know, and I'll be happy to sit with you and talk a little bit more about what's involved. And obviously that's going to be a priority here pretty quick to find a suitable replacement for Doug.
Or
we know nobody can fill his shoes, but somebody's going to have to. So.
Thank
Doug,
you, Mike. You want to take care of the closeout?
Thanks, Dan. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.